I'm very honored to introduce to you Kathryn Frazier, coming from Modest, Michigan. She's now here today with us. And Kathryn, please come on stage. So basically, Kathryn has a company called Biz3 is the name of her LA-based company, and Biz3 is an oasis for artists such as Daft Punk, Skrillex, The Weeknd, J. Cole, Lauryn Hill. So let's talk about how you've gone. I was on your Instagram, and I'm looking at pictures of Angus, your son, and then you with supercars, and you on jets, you with horses, you back with 80s hair. I mean, you're truly a transformative entrepreneur. And I think you told me a bit about some emo days. So tell me more about how you found TM. Like, how did you find us? You know, we're in the middle of the heartland.
It's been a long, very loud. It's been a long journey from big-haired Michigan to I'm here with you. I found TM. I had an intern. All great companies are built on interns, in my opinion, and you should all intern if you haven't, and you should do it often. Every person that works for me, by the way, has been an intern. Side note, so it's a good trek. I had an intern who was extremely bright and stood out a lot, and of course, I started talking to him. He grew up here. His name's Andrew Runkle, and he grew up in TM. And I was so blown away by him, and then I met his friends, and I was like, I've never met people, young people, this bright and this special. And so he told me about TM, and then I went down a deep hole one night. I watched David Lynch at Boston University. I watched Martin Scorsese. I just sort of went in there, and I think I've been doing it 8-9 years now.
Okay.
Changed my life. Changed everything.
Okay. So now you're like a TM guru, right? And don't you share this information?
I will
with
not
many
say
folks?
that. I was just telling Aaron earlier, I really need some help. Busy life makes it hard to really stay on your program. That afternoon session is like, but it's a tool that's so valuable. Mm-hmm. So I will not call myself a guru. I would like to really keep doing it forever. And I have dreams of in my old age I can come live here and be doing it several hours a day.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Kathryn, you have a fantastic story. You're about to share it with us, and thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Enjoy.
Thank you. Hi. I kind of feel like I know people already. I've seen all these faces that I connected with yesterday. So yes, I'm Kathryn. I come from Michigan. I was a big-haired, tan, 80s Midwest girl. I have a single mother. I never knew my father. My mom worked a job. I think the most she ever made was $14,000 a year. I remember she had to work in a bar a little bit for a while at night. So I was kind of a single mom, crock-pot, latchkey kid. And we're talking about transformation. We're talking about vision. You pay attention to your vision at a very young. Raise your hand if you know the movie Flashdance. You guys might be too young. Okay. At a very young age, I think I saw it. I snuck in because it was rated R. I think I was 12. And I saw this woman who was a welder. She read French Vogue. She was beautiful and sexy, and she rehabbed a loft. And she was a dancer, and I was like, wow, I want to live that life. I'm going to get out of Milford, Michigan, and I'm going to get a loft, and I'm going to live in the big city, and I'm going to be interesting. And I'm also going to be my own woman, and I'm going to, hang drywall and, create my own world. My mother, side note, my mother made me drywall a garage once. I had to hang it, tape it, mud it, sand it, and paint it, and I literally thought it was child abuse. And I later have gone on to thank her because I think it's kind of genius parenting. It made me feel capable. I've always felt capable. So I went from that girl to now. I don't have big hair. I have straight hair, and I live in Los Angeles, and I'm a single mother of 2 beautiful kids, and I chose to move a little bit out of LA. I live in the mountains. We have coyotes, bears. I have a horse. I'm trying to give my children kind of a rural childhood in a big city. I have a beautiful partner who helps me, and I have an incredible ex-husband, co-parent. It takes a village to raise kids when you're a single entrepreneur. I also am a life coach now, a personal coach, a professional coach, and I see people for relationships. We'll get into that, but it's gone from here to here. To me, it was all about transformation, and it was always about vision. The Flashdance vision changed several times over the course of that time. So fast forward, how I started my company. My company is 23 years old. I've been doing what I do almost 30. I have the privilege of, on my roster, I do publicity and management. I have had some of my favorite artists. You already heard who some of those are, but to work with people like Daft Punk and Lauryn Hill, Skrillex, Anderson .Paak, Migos, J. Cole, you know, there's Run the Jewels. It goes on, and I just can't believe I still have like pinch me moments that I'm here and I'm working with such great people. I consult for Google, and that's really kind of a fantastic, different thing, and totally out of music. So I started my company. Here's the first point of entrepreneurship. And this is not just to be an entrepreneur. This is to be a happy person in life. This is to excel at your job. This is how to excel in your home life, which is you have to be brave. You know, you have to, I got to Chicago, made my way to the big city, begged a man to work at his club. He wouldn't take my calls. I was like a salesman, like a telemarketer. I finally got him to meet with me. I walked in, I had an all beige, double-breasted suit, and I went to a nightclub. And I remember he literally laughed when he saw me walk through the room. And I begged him, and he gave me an internship, no pay. And I busted my butt, and I changed his whole way that he did promotions up there. And I convinced him to buy a computer. You gotta get a computer. This business needs a computer. And so we did that, and he ended up giving me a job. And I got $19,000, and I had my first job. Fast forward, I had my second vision. Now my vision was, I want to work for myself, I want to do what I want to do, and someday I want to be a parent, and I want to have the flexibility to raise children the way I want. I didn't even have a boyfriend when I had this vision, but it was the vision, and so that vision, it's about actualizing it. My mentor at that club, Joe Shanahan, really important person to me, I told him my idea. He said, cool, let's do it. I'll give you a room in my big building. I'll give you $30,000 a year, pay jump, and we'll split it. At the time, I was kind of indie rock cool girl, and he was doing Smashing Pumpkins and was sort of like this more major label guy. And over the weekend before we were supposed to make this transition, I followed my gut, okay? Gut, super important. I thought to myself, oh, I don't have any money, literally less than $100 in the bank. I don't have parents that can fund this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I want to do my own thing. I went to Barnes & Noble. I bought a book on wine varietals. I taught myself wine. I put on a cheap but fancy-looking black dress. I went to a fancy wine bar outside of my crappy neighborhood, and I begged them for a job. I got it. I pretended I knew wine. I didn't. I'm not encouraging lying, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And I decided I would be a waitress. That's how I'd make money, and I would not partner with this person. I would do it on my own. I told him. He was like, oh, that's a step back. That's not a good idea. How are you going to do that? And you take the chance. I saw the vision. You take the chance. A friend of mine gave me a closet in his club. We stuck a little table in it. I got a ride to the suburbs because I didn't have a car. I did a loan. I got the world's largest computer, and I shoved it in the closet. And my friend worked for Death Row Records. She was working on Tupac. She stole the database, sent it to me on paper. I hand-typed it in. Again, don't steal, don't lie. And my first artist ever was Will Oldham, who was like this super cool indie rock kind of alt country guy. The Tupac database wasn't gonna help me much. So what do? You get resourceful. I didn't have the internet back then. I couldn't look everybody up. I just had to figure it out. I would go to the magazines. I would read inside of them. I'd look up names and numbers. You just figure it out. That's the point. You figure it out. So that went for a while. That led me to, I was in a diner one morning, and I heard someone mention, did you see that house? There's a crack house, is how they referred to it, for sale down the street. There's people living in it, addicted to drugs. There's no electricity, no drywall, no windows. It's just a shell of a building. And they're selling it, and you can get a government loan for $3,800. I want to do that. So despite my parents and my friends going, what are you talking about? You have no money, you don't know how to deal with a building, you're all by yourself, I bought this building. I won't go into that because that's a 3-hour lecture in itself, but it was, my first tenant ever was a kindergarten teacher. Turned out she was paid by the drug lord of the neighborhood so that he could have a good location. I used to go pour concrete for a bathroom, and then 2 days later it was in the basement. I built wooden boxes for the windows, and then you couldn't open the windows. I had to do it myself because I had no money. So from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m., I would go there, hang drywall, do tiling. There was no internet back then, so I had a big yellow book from Home Depot, and I would just do what I was doing. Sometimes I'd pay guys out on the street to help me. The point of the story is, again, you have to actualize it yourself. You have to take chances. It was super scary. It remains the biggest shit show of my entire life, was that building. The stress of that building was beyond getting through college, beyond starting a business. Okay, so that was sort of the point of that. I'm gonna fast forward because I've got about a 3-hour lecture in 15 minutes. The big change in my life was I went to a meditation retreat, still a waitress, still running this business, and it was a silent retreat. You can't look at anyone, you can't talk, you can't read, you're left alone with your mind. I was sitting in the bathroom on day 4, and I started sobbing, and I cried for about 16 hours straight. I don't cry. I later went to therapy to figure out why I don't cry. I, in that moment, felt like an imposter. I'd been this tough, badass, make it happen, and I realized you are a scared, terrified, insecure girl. You've had sexual assault, you have issues about your father, or lack of. There's a whole bunch of stuff that was in there. And that's when I realized you got to put as much work in here as you do in building this business. So that opened the door to, I hate to call it just a generic wellness. That opened the door to introspection. It didn't just open it. It was like a boom, kick the door down, the hinges go flying off, the door is gone, and that's it. That's where we are. That led to lots of therapy, meditation, doing every self-help book known to man I think I've read, essential oils, veganism, colonics, drinking. I mean, it just like the whole world opened up, and I was like, I got to take it all in. And what it led to, I'm going to fast forward, and back to my company, my job is to make people famous. That's it. To either make them really famous or help people who are not heard simply get their art out to the world. And what happened is, as my little tiny company grew, so did the artists. Pretty soon, either people I rep or people I see, they're some of the most famous people in the world. I'm with 25-year-olds who are making $50 million a year or more, and they are so unhappy. Many of them, most of them. There is anxiety, depression, mental illness. There's just addiction like crazy. Sex, love, narcotics, alcohol. It's just the rock and roll cliche. And what I saw was, it's just that. It's the rock and roll cliche. Nobody was rushing to intervene. Just keep them going out there. I became the more you look in, you can't really handle when there's a bunch of garbage on the out. And I got very uninspired. I was literally about to pack it up and start a puppy farm in North Dakota. I was like, I'm done. And that's when I discovered coaching. My therapist, I said, I'm going to go to grad school to be a therapist. Take years. She said, why don't you be a coach? Like a life coach? Yes. These people are like, that's like kind of garbage. She goes, no, it's actually not. It's really legit. And I went to an incredible professor, Damian Goldbarg, went through a program that changed my life, did all the hours, did all the certification. Really, it changed my life. It now changes the people who work for me. It changes the way I lead, changes the kind of boss. Early days, I led with fear and intimidation. Not gonna lie. I was that scrappy Michigan girl, just like, we gotta make this happen. And now, all of my employees, if you would like to go to TM, I will pay for it. If you want to meditate every day at 3 o'clock, absolutely. I will send you to workshops. Please go travel because I want you to be happy and healthy. It changed everything, but it changed my business. The transforming of my business became this coaching now I give to the people. I coach managers, heads of labels, rappers. They don't just get me helping them get their art into the world or getting famous. They get me helping them to be happy people. And then I do college kids. I'm doing an unemployed landscaper who's an undocumented migrant worker. You have to give. I just signed up to do inmates who are being released. You got to do your free work. Whatever you do in here, entrepreneur or not, You go in with the spirit of being an entrepreneur. You envision it, and you act resourcefully, you are brave, and you make it happen. But you also have to keep human connection, or you will not be happy. You keep your same friends. You keep new friends. You connect with people. You share some of yourself, and you ask questions. Don't talk about yourself too much. Share and ask questions. Those people will become your allies. You might get more clients from them. They might help you grow your business. When things are bad, you have a support system. It's a huge thing to have that human connection. When people are building businesses, I think they get too caught up in building the business and keep it going. And if you're not doing the self-care, it's all going to fall apart. The toolbox is important. You have a huge toolbox here. You guys all learn TM. Right there, if you have a toolbox, that's the hammer. That's the one. To me, by the time you're done, you should have one of those big, giant, steel case toolboxes, those big, shiny red jobbies with all the drawers, and you drag them around. You should have one of those, because you need a lot of tools to get through things. The hammer's TM, game changer, for sure, transcendental meditation. For me, the screwdriver, Phillips head, is being present. You know how many times a day you have to get present when you're dealing with crazy people in your business? Or a partner who's needy and right now you're not there for them? Or a teenager who's rolling his eyes at you and won't just get in the car? You have to get present a million times a day. My screwdriver, its little head on top would be of Eckhart Tolle. The power of now, whatever your version of getting present every moment is super important. The toolbox, I encourage you, if you have issues, go get help. Use the TM, go to therapy, read books. And here's a big thing that I learned with sharing with you guys yesterday in classrooms. You are going into the world with this beautiful force field around you. You already have something that most people don't have. This is special here. You're going to go out there, you're going to have people around you that do not have what you have. So one, you're protected, so remember that. So keep using your tool, don't stop doing TM. You can add to your toolbox, but make sure you keep that going. But share what you know. You don't have to be the owner of a company for 23 years and a life coach to share and change people's lives. You can do it today. You can go out into job. Let's say you leave here and you go intern at some company in, New York. You could be sitting next to someone who's stressed out or having a hard time, or you could have a boss who's been in the game for 30 years that's having a hard time. All you have to do is share your knowledge and your tool, and you've changed someone's life. That intern I brought up, an intern, he was 18 years old. He changed my life. I am here with a completely different life because that 18-year-old kid was like, you seem kind of stressed out. Have you ever heard of TM? That's big. Can you imagine that? So I'm so happy to be here and share your energy, and I am here all day. Come talk to me. But thank you for listening to my story.